Welcome to the Powered by Factum podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Fuller. Once again, we got the one and only Wade Borth
Excited.
in the studio today. And our topic today, Wade, is the cost of acquisition, which is something Nelson Nash in his book, Becoming Your Own Banker, talks heavily about. This cost of acquisition. What is that?
Oh, cost of acquisition. What does it cost you to generate a dollar? In essence, some people, and is it over long term? Is it short term, right? Where's our focus or where's our view? Sometimes when we look at our business, anybody that's starting a new business, and actually he talks about it, and Nelson talks about it in his book, the Japanese businessman, the model there is that you're going to lose money for the first 7 years. So you put money in before you ever take money back out of it for 7 years. So what's the cost of acquisition? It's just that. What does it cost you to generate a dollar? Does it cost you $1.50, $1.80, $2 in your first year? What's it cost you in the 8th year, the 10th year? You know, the whole idea is if in any business that you typically get a startup, you put a lot of money into it, and eventually it gets to the point where it's making more money than it's costing you. And hopefully sooner rather than later, and hopefully at a much higher pace.
Yeah.
That's the cost of acquisition in very technical terms.
So let's tie that into why most insurance agents fail in their first 24 months of this business. And I'll give you my perspective first on what I've seen. So what we've built here at Factum, there was a lot of cost of acquisition. I had to sell insurance while training, while building systems, while trying to be profitable, while hiring on new people. That was not a fun journey, Wade.
No, it's not.
There were many years, we're not talking days or months, straight years where our profits didn't even have a comma in the numbers, by the way, right? I think about what does it take to get to this point? Now, we had a very strong why early on. We loved this business. And thank goodness I had some key individuals like Monty Flack and Jim King early on with this journey that helped us get through those early stages. But what's been built now, we're trying to put it in a perspective of what do agents get here when they come and they work with Factum. Now, we're all about empowerment and abundance. And if we ever have an agent that outgrows us, we've said it before, we want them to go do their own thing. Please, we'll help you get a contract. We're here to help the life insurance industry develop leaders. And if that means outside our organization, lovely, do it. But I really want to ask you, and let's talk about what does it really cost to grow and scale a business in this industry, Wade?
Again, we talk about how many people fail. A lot of times people, when we look at those numbers, the reason why they fail is a lot of different reasons that go into it. Part of it is they're just not making money at the rate that they need to make it at. And so going back to what you said is that they weren't, either you have to be very passionate or driven to continue through that, or be a business person that says, okay, I know that I'm not going to have profit. You talked about not having commas. I remember when I was first in the business, I didn't even have green numbers. I had red numbers.
Were commas around when you were early in the business? Yeah. That come afterwards.
We had to put those in stone still. So the big clay tablets, that's how we kept our records. But Moses passed it on to me. So then I thought I'd pass it on to you. So.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that hierarchy was so close.
Long time. But that's what it is what does it cost to think about this? What are some of the things that cost you to put together a successful business? Well, first it takes infrastructure. Does anybody think about this from your own career? Just imagine the money that you've spent on just technology, just on software and hardware in the last 5 years. What does that number look like? Big.
It's big.
Nobody really gives it thought, but that has to have a return on investment, right? The second part is, what has it taken to go to all the industry, maybe not even industry, but all the masterminds, all the training, all the different stuff where you're growing yourself and growing your business. Hiring people. You've had to hire people to either do your books for you or all these other things, because if you're not hiring other people to do those things, then you have to do them yourself. And the one thing that most agents, and this is why they fail, is because they think, well, I can do it myself. And I'll just we have a system right now where at Factum, we'll do the underwriting for you. And that's huge because now we have a team that's very professional doing it for you. So you don't have to take your $100 an hour or $200 an hour time to go ahead and do these things, because time is the one thing that most people fail to realize is probably the biggest cost, because it doesn't show up on a spreadsheet anywhere. But if you say, oh, I got to develop a spreadsheet to hold all my clients in a CRM. Well, first I have to go research a CRM, I have to spend money on it, and now I have to implement it and then take time to put into it. Well, those are all fixed costs, but what's the soft cost? Is, it took you 20 hours or 50 hours or 100 hours or 1,000 hours to become masterful in that CRM. Well, you don't get paid to be a master in CRM. You get paid to be a professional leader in relationships. That's really what our business is. And if you put a dollar amount on it, like $200 an hour, your cost of acquisition now becomes huge. So the question is, can we find somebody else that's already got that system in place, understanding that it cost me one way or the other, so let me go do what I need to do to be successful and professional in this business, and let somebody else that's already developed that take that burden on them. And that's really what the cost of acquisition is. You have to understand that every minute you spend doing something else that isn't building a relationship with a client costs you $1.
Yeah. And I think this is where I don't want to say agents get it wrong, but it's why mentorship is worth every cent that you'll spend on it, because you're either going to tie into a system and a model that already exists, or you're going to go build it from scratch like I did.
Right.
Now, the reason I built mine from scratch is because the old agency I came from didn't have systems and models. They threw us out in the wild and they said, go sell insurance. And we did. And guess what? It was a grind. We've used that word before. It was a grind, right? But there's always systems and models to help you become successful. And if you have a mentor who's guiding you through that system and model, it's even better.
Right.
And so I think back to the early days when we started Factum, the first thing we did, and this is the first thing probably any agent should have, is we needed a CRM. So we got a CRM, to a customer relationship management software, to keep our clients organized. Because after 50 or 60 clients, it doesn't fit on an Excel spreadsheet anymore. You need something that will automate some follow-up. And about that same time, we hired on a gal to do our policy servicing so that we weren't doing applications, right?
Right.
You as an agent, you have to learn to start thinking in minutes. And that means when you start thinking in minutes, not days and weeks, you start taking your tasks and priorities way more seriously. And if you know what you're worth per hour, like I know what my hourly rate right now is, which is why I always hire people to do the things that are $20, $30, and $40 an hour. I can't do those things. Otherwise, I stop scaling. And so you have to incorporate all that in the early years. While you're selling insurance, we had to do this, Wade. Yep. This was not a fun time in the business. I think of the model of Starbucks. You referenced it earlier, but a Starbucks, from what I understand, is one wonderful franchise. Who doesn't want a Starbucks? They're all, you don't. They don't have in North Dakota, right?
No.
You guys have something else.
We still have to ship our beans in on wagons. So.
That's right. And then you have to thaw them out when it's not negative 50 there. But the Starbucks model, if you buy that franchise, they're not supposed to produce a profit for 7 years. So who wants a Starbucks in the first 7 years? Nobody. Who wants a Starbucks after year 7? Everyone. So with what we've built here, we're 5 years into Factum's journey right now. We have some wonderful models and systems to follow. But there was a huge cost of acquisition for those. And I'm not discouraging anyone from going and doing your own thing. What I'm telling you is we showed this to a high-producing agent in our business, Mary Jo Erman. She's a killer in this business for sure. So passionate. We love Mary Jo. One of our good colleagues, Farming Without the Bank. And she sat through one of our masterminds, our agent masterminds, and she saw all the systems and processes we had. And then she saw what we were charging them for new agents. And she literally stood up in that room and was like, just so you all know, because I'm sure you new agents don't comprehend this, this is the deal of a lifetime these guys are giving you. Because it would take you, her words were, hundreds of thousands of dollars to go build this on your own. And once again, not to discourage anyone, but she's been down that path too. Very few of us get to this level because that journey is, it's hard.
Yeah.
And one of the things we're so passionate about here at Factum is empowering agents to reach their max potential. One of the best ways to do this is for us to spend our time and resources building systems and models to help them be successful. A lot of people say, oh, well, you guys sell whole life and do infinite banking. We do. But our leadership team here at Factum, we consider our client our agents. We build systems and models to empower our agents, and they're constantly getting better. And one of the reasons why I think agents fail in this business in their first 2 years is they want to come in, they want to be so creative themselves. Well, I need my own branding. I need my own website. I need my own this. I need my own that. Meanwhile, they're not focusing on lead generation. So in 24 months, they're out of business. They're burnt out because they spent all their money trying to be creative instead of tying into a system and model or working with a mentor that's going to show them how to do this business and then go get creative. Once you've done that, by all means, go get as creative as possible.
Yeah. To that point, even having a great relationship with Mary Jo, it's not just the money that was spent. How many years of your productive time did you spend? Years. I'm not talking days or minutes. I'm talking years. And if you could have had those years back and said, hey, I can just plug into a system, what can you have generated in production? And the other side of that equation is people are going to say, oh, yeah, I'm just getting started in the business. My time is not worth anything because I'm not making anything. Well, don't look at what it is today. What's your vision? Okay, I want to be a $1 million producer in 5 years. Okay, well, what's that dollar amount per hour to get there? And you're not going to get to be $1 million producer if you stick in today's dollars, right? Wayne Gretzky was always great about. They said, what makes you great or what makes you so good? He says, I go to where the puck's going to be, not where it's at. And so that's why I want agents to look at and say, well, if I want to get to where I want to be, and I know what that is, I start with the end in mind. And then I put a dollar amount on there and say, well, I'm going to charge $500 an hour. If you're charging $500 an hour, which isn't outrageous in this business, by the way, I'm charging $500 an hour. Why do I want to spend a year's worth of my time to build a CRM and also not just to build it, but now input the information in and keep it up to date and all that other stuff? When I look at what we do here is like, we have one guy, that's all he does. Mm-hmm. So if he's working for 5 or if he's working for 50, if he's working for 500 agents, it doesn't make any difference to him.
Yeah.
There's a huge benefit to somebody that wants to plug into that. Or you have somebody that's doing policy service or applications. That's one I see all the time. People taking their own applications. And not that there's anything wrong with taking an application. Maybe you should do one so you know what the questions are. But after that, why not let somebody that's professional in doing it, that's doing it for 50 or 100 other people, do it for you as well and plug into it. And now you can take that time that you would have done with following up on an application to go see 5 more people. Because again, your job isn't to fill out applications. Your job is to create relationships and solve problems.
Yeah. And I don't even think new agents should do one application. That's not a realm. You can go read one, but don't do one. Your time needs to be spent educating and growing relationships out there. That's where you should be spending your time, growing your database, lead generating, and building relationships. Yeah. And so one of the systems that we have here, obviously, is policy services. That's one of the first people you'll end up hiring if you're going to grow and scale your own business, is some type of transaction coordinator, right? That's what they call it in the real estate world. Property and casualty, they'd call it something similar. You need someone doing your policy applications and underwriting. You should never, as an agent, be spending your time doing that. Yep. And this goes back to the whole who, not how mentality and the one thing. When you have a killer in your business doing one thing, and so our application team is really good. Want to know why? Because that's all they do. What should you be doing as an agent? All you should be doing is networking, lead generating, and educating and growing relationships. Don't do anything else. Now, we built a CRM early on, which is another thing you're going to want in this business, something to keep your clients organized. And oh my gosh, I'm like just having nightmares thinking back to the old office I was in, Wade, and building automations, which is not my strong point, by the way, in Active Campaign, so that our clients would get automatic emails for like their birthdays, policies renewing. I don't even know how many hours I spent, but if you look back at my track record, you'll see my production like skyrocket and then drop down and skyrocket and drop down. Every time there was a drop down, it's because Monty and I were spending 3 to 4 months of the year building systems and infrastructure. Guess how much insurance you have to sell the other months just to make sure that you don't go out of business. Right. That is not a fun time in this business, Wade.
Yeah. Or the other side of the equation, how much you didn't sell.
Right.
And now compound that over 50 years.
Right. There's a huge cost of acquisition there. Yeah. And so I built an initial CRM, and then I found Nathan, which we'll have him on this podcast too, because he's brilliant. He took my automations that took me months to build, and in like weeks, he like 50 times did. Yeah. And now we have 52 different automations that go out to our clients, wishing them happy birthday. Your policy renewals are coming up. Do you need to book an appointment with your agent? It's all there.
It's because you brought in an expert. And think about this from the standpoint of what we tell our clients. You wouldn't want not have somebody not be an expert, right? So if you're talking to your clients, like you want them to have an expert in you business.
So you don't want someone that's a part-time plumber, will do your taxes and sell you life insurance. And if you need a new home, they can get their real estate license. You don't want to work with that person?
Don't necessarily want to work with that person. One time out of 10, it might work out, right?
Maybe.
Well, one time out of 100. But the point is, when you really need that person, you can't count on them. So why do we do that in our business?
Yeah.
We take our job and we say, well, I can build a CRM. Again, you did it because you didn't know any better.
I had to.
Now that you listen to the podcast, now you know better.
Right.
So now you can make a choice.
And granted, we did what we could in the early stages because we had no money, right?
Right.
There was no profit. We couldn't hire anyone. That's like we had to sell insurance to feed our families and then save enough to pay for a CRM and then save up a little bit more to hire someone to start doing that now, right?
But see, this is the point, is like that track record you laid out is the track record everybody goes down. And that's why we have a 20% success rate.
Right. That is not an easy path.
And the reason why you had success is because you were focused and had a vision. And you're like, I'm going to make this happen through sheer will. You're going to make it happen. But if you didn't have that focus, I can guarantee you it wouldn't have been worth the pain that you went through.
Yeah.
So the point being is this is the reason why people fail, is because they have to do all this other stuff. They have to be a jack of all trades and nothing is really great. And then it becomes very frustrating because I'm doing all the things that I hate to do.
Yeah.
So then therefore I'm like, it's not worth the pain. So I'm going to get out of this business. So think about it. If we had a model, just close your eyes and imagine there's a model where I can say, I want to go talk to people. I want to tell them my story. I want to hear about their story. I want to create a relationship with them, but I don't want to have to put them into a system and then track it. And then if we do sell them a policy to say, oh, when's their PUA going to be due and so on and so forth. And, oh, I got to have some educational videos. I wish I could have something where I could just send out on a regular basis. Hey, did you think about this? Or invite them to an event like a deep dive or a foundation class just to refresh your memory of why they're doing what they're doing. Imagine if you had that all in one bundle. Wouldn't that be fun?
Someone should build that.
Somebody should build that.
That would be, that's sounding awesome right now, Wade.
Think about how many, I'm going to say you spent $1 million in time and money, lost time and dollars you actually spent. You spent over $1 million.
That's funny because that is the exact dollar amount I wrote down when we started chatting about this. Like just thinking back through.
We didn't script this. We didn't even talk about this in the
What did we actually spend in physical dollars? What did it actually cost us with the time involved? What we could have been selling at that time? There's $1 million in there easy.
Easy. Yeah.
Now that's $1 million that my family does not have right now.
Or will ever have.
Right. It's up to what we're going to do now in the future. So that's that old expression. Like if, I don't want to discredit anyone because I'm all about people reaching their max potential. But if a lot of people could see what it actually costs to be successful, what the price is you have to pay. I don't remember in which book I read it in, but it's if you could see the price that you have to pay to be successful, a lot of people will opt out immediately. I'm not going to pay that. Right. I just won't do it. And it's okay because there's some of us that will, right? We'll take the risk. We'll do it. But I think what's fun about working with you, Wade, is we love to do that. It's different. I love to build systems and processes to empower our agents to have a better, easier, more enjoyable time than what we had. I think there's an important life lesson in there, right?
Right.
It's like that old proverb, the person that plants the seed knowing they'll never sit under the shade of that tree is starting to understand the essence of life. And in a way, we've done that for insurance agents here. We've provided them some shade in this business.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
You don't have to be out there in the sun.
In Arizona, that's huge.
In Arizona sun, there's a little mesquite tree, no leaves, but a couple branches that gives you some type of relief, right? But that's really what we've built here because some of the agents that have gone through our training now are well on their way to be successful, and they've been here 6-7 months because they follow the system and model. Now, we didn't have any of that. One of the other systems we have here is our Win by Noon and Factum 15. This is a signature contacting method. Imagine, Wade, if someone early on in a business said, Wade, if you do these 15 things every morning before noon, by the way, it won't take you more than 3 hours to do this, and you stay consistent in 24 months, you will be part of the 20% that's successful. Yeah. Here's the template.
Yeah. And the other part of that equation is you'll be part of the 20% that's successful, but you'll also probably be in the top 5 to 10% of the insurance industry as far as production.
So not even successful, but I'll say
very successful.
You're going to be building the habits, and the sooner and better you develop good habits, the easier it's going to be for you to go forward.
Yeah. And along that same lines, Todd Langford at Truth Concepts, he actually uses a quote from Norm Baker. He says, there's no deals in the insurance business, right? So what do we have to give up to get this, right? That's the other side of the equation. If we understand what the true cost is, we have to give up $1 million in 2 years. I guess I've said this, and you've quoted me many times, right? You can either skin your knees for 2 years or 6 months, right? Which one would you want? And how much would you be willing to pay to be successful in 6 months versus successful in 2 years?
Well, no one wants to skin their knees, by the way.
No,
but
they don't.
That's what it requires. Sometimes I think people get this perception of success like, oh, it's easy and it's pretty and it's glamorous and it's
overnight success, right?
You're home by 5 every day. And I love Tim Grover. He's the guy that coached Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. He wrote some books, Relentless, Winning. And in his books, he talked like winning is ugly. It's dirty. It's a rusty trophy. It's bloody, right? It's skin knees. That's what it is.
Yep.
And unless you have a model and a system and a mentor, get ready for 2 years of that, which is why most agents, they die after 2 years. They can't do it anymore.
Nope.
It's understandable. Nope. That's not fun.
2 years of grinding is not fun.
Or you do it for 6 months. Guess what? It's the same level of uncomfort, but it's done in 6 months, 7 through 12 of that year. You're actually like, we're doing this. Once that confidence starts to boost, your conviction's a little bit more certain, now you're unstoppable.
Yep, 100%. And so again, it goes back, what's the cost? I was thinking about, there's a firm out of St. Louis that does investments and stuff like that. And one of the things that they do is they have you look at what it costs you. And so they have everybody at a 50% payout, but they pay for all the expenses and all the process. And that's the most you're ever going to get. And I was like, wow, why do I want to do it for that? And they go, you cost us. You should really be at a 20 or 30 point contract. I'll go back to what you were saying. In your early days, you're at a 25% contract because that's the value that you brought, probably.
Well, I was happy to get that.
You learned a ton.
I had a great mentor.
You learned a ton. So people will talk about that. They're like, oh, I was that. And so they're almost angry about it, but you should embrace it. I first started out, man, I was the same boat. I was at a 50-point contract and I split 50-50 with my mentor for years.
Yep.
And so, like I said, it was like, God, I didn't see a lot of money coming in, but the knowledge and my mastery went up tremendously, real fast.
That's what you should be focusing on the early years of your business.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of the different things. And the other part of cost of acquisition is you talk about winning is ugly because you're doing the things that a lot of people won't do, right? So when I first got in the business, like somebody says, hey, learn a script. I'm like, I don't have a script. But he said, memorize it, personalize it, utilize it. And once you start, I get, because I want to make sure that my message, what I'm telling people, is so vitally important that I don't get it wrong, especially when I know nothing.
Yeah.
And so those are all the things. So it's not always dollars. It's like commitment. The cost of acquisition is
That's good. One of the other systems, Wade, we have here that is really important for agents because we're so focused on education here. Because I always tell new agents, when you sell a whole life policy to someone, that's where the real work begins. It's not before it. There's education up front. As soon as that person buys a policy with you as the agent, you are now obligated to serve that family, which means you have to educate them. It's the same as like buying real estate as buying a policy. There's people who buy real estate and there's people who buy insurance, and then there's those that know how to use it. And that's really what we specialize. We show people how to use their whole life policy for the process of infinite banking. And so that requires education. So one of the things that started eating up a lot of my time, gosh, I should not word it that way, because I liked sitting down with clients teaching them, right? Because when they see the stuff we teach and you see the lights go off and they go, oh my gosh, this is possible? Why didn't I know this 20 years ago?
Right.
One of the greatest feelings ever. And I was doing that so regularly in the early years of my business that I'm like, I need to record a video and just send this out. So that's what I did. And I did that to teach them up front. And then they'd buy a policy. Then they had all these questions on the back end. How do I take a policy loan? How do I pay it back? How do I use it for this? How do I use it for that? And so it started me down this path of just recording content to leverage to educate clients. And now it's grown into, I think, 6 courses we have and 70 videos now, very specialized on like foundations of infinite banking, strategies for business owners, for wealth building, family banking. We got our deep dive series. There's a lot of content there. And what that does for agents, When I onboard a client, I commit them to working. I say, now the real work's going to begin. You have 90 days to go through my courses. And don't call me until you do. I'm here for you, but you have to get educated. The process is called becoming your own banker, Wade. It's not Kyle becoming your banker.
Right.
I don't want the financial advisor role. I'm here to empower you. And so what ends up happening is they go through that course. Well, that's the same as sitting down with me for 7 or 8 hours straight and me teaching you everything I know.
Yeah.
What kind of leverage does that provide for an agent?
Well, think about this from an agent standpoint, especially somebody that maybe that's brand new or maybe new to this idea of infinite banking, or maybe even seasoned in the idea of infinite banking. You take somebody that's been super successful in teaching clients about infinite banking and in the words he's using, the phrase he's using, the pace he's using, all the things you become very professional at. Now,
you me?
Well, yeah, you.
Oh, thank you, Wade. Jeez, I thought you were talking about someone else.
You can pay me later. But now you're able to say, okay, this person is very good at what they do, and now I can leverage that. Instead of me trying to become as proficient as you are in those conversations, because that conversation just doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
That costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars of reading and attending seminars and going to the NNI and going to Truth Concepts. This is the part that people don't understand, is like all these things that we don't just happen the first time around, right? We have to suck the first couple times we do it.
Yeah.
And then we redo it, and then we redo it, and we get better and we get better. And then that conversation now is recorded. So now it can make you look like a genius when you're just first starting off. You can say, hey, this is my colleague. Watch this video because it's super educational.
Yeah.
Instead of you trying to do that and either maybe failing in that conversation or this, and then not understanding how powerful the words that we use are, right? So these are all things that kind of build into that. So again, back to cost of acquisition, it costs you, I think there's 14, 15 hours of content there.
It might be that much. I haven't gone back and adding new stuff all the time.
Right.
I mean, it's a lot. If you bite-sized pieces, 10-minute videos, right? They're not long, but they're very precise.
Yeah.
And I think about not only the cost of acquisition previous, but also going forward. Because when the 7702 changes came out, I wanted to make sure our numbers were accurate because we're all about the truth. And so I re-recorded the entire course. That was back in December of 2022.
Yeah.
It took me a month straight to do that. No client appointments, nothing. I was in the studio Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, re-recording everything. And I hope I never have to do that again, by the way, because that was a lot, but we'll do whatever it takes. And this is why our leadership team is so phenomenal, because we have people working in the background to produce exceptional content like that they love to do it. They will do it. They'll do it at a high level to give to our agents. So imagine having a business that's working for you 24/7 and they're going to give you 100%. So you can take that and bring it to your client base. What is that worth to an agent in this business, Wade?
It's huge. It's like being able to buy into a McDonald's franchise for not much more than a commitment to say, I'm going to do exactly what McDonald's tells me to do.
But their food's good.
No, it's not.
No. Our food is good.
Our food is good. Yeah.
It's like buying into a McDonald's franchise, but the food's
Food is
good.
It's by, I think,
Not just the Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Did you know that their Diet Coke is unique, though? I just learned that.
No, I didn't know that.
They have some special deal with Coke, or like they get it different or it's packaged different. But if you go to McDonald's, like their Coke is just, anyways, total side tangent. But
I didn't realize that. But the point is that you can buy into a franchise, and you think about what it costs to buy into a franchise, and go look it up. What does it cost you to buy into a Chick-fil-A franchise if you can even get one?
Right. Sometimes they don't let you. You have to work it from the ground up. But
right, or you have to be in there for some of the franchises. You have to actually work there for 5 to 7 years, go to school, pay thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get it, and then you can get the franchise.
Right.
Where here it's like the same way. It's like the whole thing is set up for success. All you have to do is plug into the system, because McDonald's will not let you use a different ketchup, different burger.
You don't get to come to McDonald's and say, I'm here to use my own creativity here.
Right.
You're going to follow the system and model that's proven to work. And we do have our standards here. And if we have an agent that says, well, I want my own branding, and we are not your shop.
Right.
Please go, we'll help you on your way, but you got to follow a system and a model and get the basics down to actually build some success. And once you're there and you're running a stable business, that's the time to start thinking about, how do I put my own unique spin on some of this stuff?
Right. Yeah. You don't get the cart ahead of the horse, because first you have to learn to walk and get to like steps A, B, and C, and D before you try to get to Z. And that's the whole thing, is get it stable, get the business up and running, and then say, okay, now I'm going to change this up a little bit. I want to add my own voice to it, or I want to add my own spin to it. Then after that point, you have the stability in your business enough to do that. Or you can say, I'm just going to keep, running the franchise the way it's designed to be run because I can see success already has certain footprints, and I'm just going to follow those footprints.
Absolutely. And the last system I want to chat about, Wade, before we wrap up, is our cash flow dashboard. We have built a project here with one of our agents, David Zapata, that's really going to change things, I believe, for our industry. All this stuff is really good for empowering agents, right? But the one thing that really sets, I would say, the high producers apart is just the experience in the business, what to say, when to say it, how to navigate wealth conversations. And what we've developed with this cash flow dashboard is a system that agents can tie into to give their clients the highest level wealth conversation in a systematized manner. That's going to make you sound, because you will be a professional if you just guide someone through this wealth building conversation that should take 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Give me someone, Wade, 3 to 5 years as a client. They're going to come out highly educated, way more successful if they just follow the Factum success systems. And that includes that cash flow dashboard that tracks a lot of things: their wealth scorecard, their passive income, their active income, their expenses, how fast their policies are growing. Do they have enough death benefit? Are they living abundantly in those 5 areas?
Yeah.
It tracks all of those things. And unless you've just gotten to that point naturally, it's hard to have that conversation with someone unless you're living that right now. So imagine also getting the framework to take a client through an experience that's literally going to transform their lives.
Yeah. It becomes a little bit like paint by numbers a little bit, probably even more than that. But just think about, I look at like somebody that's a brand new agent. I see one of the biggest hurdles they have to get over is painting this picture of where, again, I think you made a mention, somebody else does it too, is like, it's not so much what they're seeing today, but what they want to be and what they want to become, and helping them paint that picture. Not you painting that picture, but this dashboard, let's call it a dashboard, helps them start visualizing, start painting that picture. Because now they're saying, oh, I was here last year and now I'm 20% better in this area and maybe 30% better in this area. It gives them hope and purpose as they go along each and every day. And so instead of this ethereal thing, okay, you're going to be better off, and you walk away and they're like, how? And then they forget about you until the next time you call them on something. Now they're excited because now they're engaged with a bigger picture.
It makes the annual review process with clients so simple, but so incredibly effective, because what gets measured gets improved.
Yeah. And on top of that, it goes from an annual review that you're doing with them to maybe a daily or monthly review they're doing with themselves.
And that's where the relationship gets built, right? When that person that exposed you to this level of systemization, processes, success, you will thank that person for the rest of your life. This person changed our life. And we get that a lot here.
Exactly. And that's ultimately what you want, is you want that kind of relationship. It's not about the numbers. It's not about policy. It's about that relationship. So use the tools to make all the other stuff that's, I'm going to call unimportant. It's still important, but it's unimportant in this case, because the relationship's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Then use the tools and leverage what you have, and don't spend all your time doing those things when you should be out there building a relationship.
That's it. So spend your time where you need to be spending it.
Yep.
And so hopefully you enjoyed this episode, learning about all the different Factum systems that we have here to empower agents to live abundant lives and create big businesses. And so if you want to learn more, make sure you go to our website, factumfinancial.com, click on how to become an agent so you can learn how to join the mission.